Marty here, and today I've got an awesome one for you. We have the all-new 2018 SRT Hellcat. This is the bad boy with 707 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. This does have an 8-speed automatic transmission, but you can get a 6-speed manual optioned out in this car as well. 0 to 60 on this car with the automatic transmission is right around 3.5 seconds when you have the red key in it. And as you can imagine, being front engine rear wheel drive with 275s, this car doesn't get very good traction, which is why they're so famous for burnouts. If we start at the back here, you got the trunk release on the car. And you can kind of see this has a ton of trunk space back here, just like any other Challenger. You got a little backup camera, and this does, if you notice, have the dual carbon fiber stripe package on it. Parking sensors in the rear with that dual exhaust, and if we start it up, you can hear that exhaust is pretty loud. It has these nice premium alloy wheels with the red painted brake calipers. This is a two-door. We're coming around to the front right here. We can see it has these seat belts that are finished in this nice red coloration. You do get power adjustment lumbar for the seat. It is manual to move the seat back and forth. You know, in a 4,400 pound car, they're still trying to save some weight. You do get the nice Alcantara with leather trim throughout. If you notice, that continues onto the seats with that leather bolsters, and then the kind of suede Alcantara throughout. And step-in height on this is pretty decent. It's, you know, not super low to the ground, but it's definitely lower than a regular car. Start up the car, you just put your foot in the brake, and then you push the red push start button, and that'll fire the engine right up. And if you notice, it's got a speedometer that goes all the way to 200 miles an hour. And then you get your tachometer, which shows the rev limits, and then you do get a digital speedometer right in the center, which you can scroll through different bits of information. So like, for example, top speed this has ever been taken to right now is 31 miles an hour. So you can expect with a brand new Hellcat. And it'll give you every bit of information through this little center stack. But like I said in the SRT Durango video, I think most people have this on the speedometer, so you don't get too many speeding tickets in this. And then coming down here, you do have all the analog buttons for everything. So you got this, it'll go to the performance page. You got the launch control, which you have to have 500 miles on the engine to do the launch control. You got your buttons for the radio. You got your dual zone climate, and then you do get this shifter, which you have the manual mode, and that allows you to access the paddles, or you can do it via the little bump stick there. You get a nice little console here. It'll have USB and auxiliary, and then a little 12 volt in there, and it's lined in felt. You kind of got this like faux carbon fiber trim all throughout, and then you do get a nice lined glove box. You have the 8.4-inch Uconnect here, so you get the satellite radio, AM, FM. You got your media, so USB, auxiliary, all that, and you can download 28 gigabytes of data into here. That dual zone climate I was telling you about, where you can control it via here. You can control all of that there, and then you got all your applications, heated, ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, and you can control all of that via here. And you know, just like all the other vehicles, it's just a giant touchscreen, sort of like an iPad thing, and then you can control those via there. You got your navigation, which is super quick to react, and then your Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, all those phone controls. And then back to that SRT page, you just press this button, and then it'll pull up your performance pages. So you have your automatic, you got your custom, you have your sport, and then you have your track mode, which will change the suspension, power output, everything on it via there. You have the valet mode, you have your other race options, then you have the eco mode, which I doubt any of you will be using the eco mode, but I can't imagine the valet mode being used quite a bit. And then you can pull up the full performance pages if you press that. And these performance pages give you every bit of information that you can imagine. So it shows you, your horsepower. You can make it show your torque. You can go through and set timers and literally any bit of information that you could imagine that you'd want to know on the vehicle. It'll show you right over here and everything. And so I think this is, pretty awesome. And they've upgraded this all for 2018, make this look a lot sleeker. Just like any other Challenger, we got to show getting into the back. So you just pull this latch on the seat and that'll put the seat forward. And you can kind of see the getting in is a little bit tight, but once you get in, you can kind of pull the seat back and you've got really good leg room in here. I imagine you're not going to be putting anyone in the middle seat unless you really don't like them. You do get this little pull out with the cup holders in it, and then the headroom back here is actually really good compared to other muscle cars, and so it's nice that you get that, and you do get ventilation back here. And it's really nice that they continue those red seat belts into the back too with this. This is where all the magic happens. This is that 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi that puts out 707 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. And in this particular one, it's routed through an 8-speed automatic transmission. This motor was released back in 2015 with the original Hellcat. Now I know a lot of buyers on this aren't really going to be worried about fuel economy, but you are going to get 13 around town. You're going to get 22 on the highway and 16 overall, which does amount to a gas guzzler tax on this vehicle. But I mean, I'm sure if you have the money to fork out the 60-70 grand that these call for, then that extra few grand of that gas guzzler tax really isn't going to bother you, or the fuel economy either, and that's why you don't really buy this vehicle. If we kind of finish the tour up front, we have these little heat releases with the air intake, and then the little air intake in the light with the larger front slits for the grills. And then you do get this faux air intake on this side. It actually just goes back. It's kind of hard to see in the camera, but that one doesn't go to the engine. It's actually not a real air intake. And then you do get full LEDs on the front end, and you do get full LEDs for the backlights as well. And then you do get this really aggressive front splitter that goes all the way around. Setting off in the all-new 2018 SRT Hellcat, and first off, this car is actually pretty big, and you can feel it's pretty big all around you and everything, and it's a pretty heavy car, but it doesn't feel super heavy. It definitely feels bigger than a lot of other cars, but it doesn't feel super heavy or weighed down and everything. And what I'm also noticing first off is that that transmission, it's just shifting off those gears super quickly. And what I'm also noticing is just how much power this has. I mean, going down that little strip of road there, I didn't touch the gas once. It's just rolling and it's just going. And I mean, with 700 horsepower, it's gonna do that. The other thing that I'm noticing is I actually have it in the kind of more comfort mode right now, and so the suspension's a little bit lighter, the throttle response is lighter and everything, and it's a really smooth ride. Like, this car's just kind of, it's soaking up all the bumps and everything. The suspension's not super harsh or anything like that, and it's a really comfortable vehicle to be in. So I mean, given that it is a two-door, you could still feasibly daily this if you really didn't need the four-door configuration. So now I just clicked over into the sport mode, and I'm already noticing that the throttle is a lot tighter than it was before. And something that I'm also able to hear, and I don't know if it's coming through quite well on the camera, is you can hear that supercharger, and it's making a bit of a whining sound. It's not like super loud or anything, but you can definitely hear that supercharger whine, and that's one of the biggest differences between this and, you know, regular SRT. Obviously this engine's a completely different engine, but that supercharger is the, you know, one of the biggest proponents of this having as much power as it does. Kind of back onto that supercharger, that's one of the main reasons why they call it the Hellcat, is that kind of whine that supercharger makes. It kind of makes this really loud whining sound when you're getting on the accelerator, and so it, you know, it kind of sounds like a cat from hell. So we're about to do a little acceleration here. I'm not really going to get on it all that much because it is a little colder outside. And so, you know, the tires aren't going to get the best traction in this kind of conditions. But it moves. Like, I wasn't even going like half throttle on it or anything like that. I mean, I barely got up to 3,000 RPMs and it's just right up to 60 miles an hour. This car is, like I said, quite a bit heavier, but that amount of power that it has kind of offsets the weight that this car has. I mean, it's incredibly fast. And that sound of that supercharger whine, I mean, it's actually pretty addicting because you kind of just want to get on it just so you can hear that supercharger whine. So what I would say overall impression-wise on this vehicle is, I think that, you know, obviously it's an incredibly fun car to have. I love the classic looks of the Challenger, and so I'd go for the Challenger body style over the Charger, unless, you know, maybe you live somewhere in like Southern California or something like that where it never snows, and so, you know, then you have the potential where that's your only car, and, you know, you need to take your family around or something like that. But in a place like this, where, you know, Utah, where I live, it snows, and so you kind of got to have, you know, some sort of vehicle that does a little bit better in the snow than, you know, 707 horsepower rear-wheel drive muscle car. That being said, at the price point that this vehicle is at, with the amount of power that it has and the features that it has, I think it's a performance steal. Yeah, and we just got a little bit of a run there just to kind of give you an idea of that sound. But yeah, like I said, I mean, at the price point this is at, with how much power this has, I think it's a performance bargain for what you're getting. It's kind of like that SRT Durango, where, you know, all the vehicles that are, you know, even relatively close to it performance wise are well over 6 figures, whereas one of those you can get for around $70,000. And, you know, most vehicles with, you know, over 700 horsepower, again, they're going to be well over 6 figures. So you're getting so much car for the amount of money that you're putting into this, which I think is, you know, awesome. And so, like I said, overall, I think this is a performance bargain. And if you love that old school muscle aesthetic, but you don't want to have the issues that would come along with, you know, having a vintage vehicle and all the upkeep and everything, then I think this is, you know, one of the best cars that you can get in the market for that. And there you have it, the all-new 2018 SRT Hellcat. If you liked the video, please leave a like. If you're stopping in for the first time, please subscribe. And I'll see all of you in that next video.